Right. ISO 27001, Clause 7. Support. And I can already feel you reaching for the skip button, because Clause 7 doesn't sound like security. Clause 7 sounds like admin. It sounds like the bit of the standard you delegate to whoever's least busy on a Thursday. Here's the thing. Clause 7 is the plumbing, it's the pipes under the floor. Nobody photographs their pipes. Nobody puts the pipes on the website. But when the pipes fail, you're not living in a house anymore. You're living in a very expensive puddle. So let's go through it properly. 7.1 Resources. The standard says you determine and provide the resources needed to establish, implement, maintain, and improve the information security management system. 4 verbs: establish, implement, maintain, improve. That last pair is where the bodies are buried, because everyone budgets for the first 2 and nobody budgets for the last 2. Picture a small software company, 40 people, decent product, a founder who's just been told by a big enterprise prospect that they need the certificate before procurement will even take the call. So the founder says yes, absolutely yes, get it done. And then the budget conversation happens. And the answer becomes, well, can Dave do it alongside his actual job? Saying yes to the certificate and no to the budget is not support. That's a wish. A wish with a deadline attached, and look, I understand the pressure. Money is real, runway is real. But resources aren't just cash, it's time, it's headcount, it's tooling, it's someone with the authority to actually say no to a bad decision. If the person running your information security management system can't get 30 minutes in your calendar, you have not provided resources. You've provided a job title and a shrug. Here's the distressingly honest version. Most small companies don't fund an information security management system. They fund a certificate and hope the system happens by accident on the way there. 7.2 Competence. Now this one gets butchered more than any other clause, so stay with me. The standard says you determine the necessary competence of people whose work affects information security performance. You ensure those people are competent on the basis of education, training, or experience. Where there's a gap, you take action to acquire the competence, and then critically you retain documented information as evidence of competence. Read that again. Evidence of competence, not evidence of attendance. Because what actually happens is this. We sent Dave on a course. Here's the certificate. Dave sat in a room for 2 days, or more likely a Zoom call with his camera off, and at the end of it a PDF arrived with his name spelled slightly wrong. Cute. That's not evidence of competence. That is evidence of a transaction. Money went out, a PDF came back. Somewhere in the middle, Dave may or may not have learned something. We genuinely do not know. Competence is about whether the person can actually do the job, so determine what you need first. What does the person handling access reviews need to know? What does the developer doing threat modeling need to know? What does the founder approving the risk treatment plan need to understand? Write it down. Then look at your actual humans against that honestly, and close the gaps, and keep the evidence. Not because an auditor asks, because when Dave leaves, and Dave will leave, Dave is always leaving. You need to know what walked out the door with him. 7.3 Awareness. Persons doing work under the organization's control shall be aware of 3 things: the information security policy, their contribution to the effectiveness of the system, including the benefits of improved performance, and the implications of not conforming. 3 things: policy, contribution, consequences. Now here's how most companies discharge that. A 40-minute video rolled out annually, watched at double speed with another tab open, and I know it's another tab because we've all done it. Adorable. Ask yourself honestly, if I stopped someone in your company right now, in the kitchen, mid-coffee, and asked them what your information security policy actually says, would they get anywhere? Would they know what it means for their Tuesday? Would they know what happens if they ignore it? The answer is usually no. And that's not because your people are stupid. It's because you delivered awareness as a compliance artifact, instead of as information a human being might need. Awareness isn't a video. Awareness is when the sales rep pauses before dropping the customer list into a random file converter. Awareness is when someone reports the phishing email instead of quietly deleting it and feeling embarrassed. That's the contribution part. That's what the clause is actually reaching for. And the consequences part matters too, not as a threat, as clarity. People behave differently when they understand that this actually matters versus when they suspect the whole thing is theater for a certificate on a wall. 7.4. Communication, short clause, constantly ignored. You determine the internal and external communications relevant to the system, specifically what you'll communicate, when you'll communicate it with whom, and who does the communicating. That's it. 4 questions. So who tells your customers when there's an incident by when? Who approves the wording? Who talks to the regulator? If a regulator is in play, who tells your own staff that a policy has changed, and how do they find out? Because if the answer is it's in the wiki, that's not communication, that's storage. Here's the distressing truth. Most companies discover their communication plan during the incident at 2 a.m. in a group chat with a name like Urgent Thing, and somebody's typing and deleting the same sentence to a customer for 40 minutes because nobody agreed in advance who owns that message. Decide it now while nothing's on fire. It's a table. It takes an afternoon. 7.5. Documented information. This is the big one, and it's got 3 parts. 7.5.1. Your system includes the documented information the standard requires, plus whatever you determine is necessary for it to be effective. Read that second half. The standard sets a floor, not a ceiling. You have to think. 7.5.2. When creating and updating documents, you ensure appropriate identification and description, a title, a date, an author, a reference, appropriate format and media, and review and approval for suitability and adequacy. Someone competent looked at it and said yes. 7.5.3. Control. It's available and suitable for use where and when it's needed. It's adequately protected from loss of confidentiality, improper use, loss of integrity, and you address distribution, access, retrieval, storage, preservation, retention, and disposition, including documents of external origin, your supplier's policy, your penetration test report, that third-party contract. Those count. And here's where it falls apart in reality. Policy final, V2, policy final, V2 actual, Dave edit, bless. 3 copies in 3 places, all slightly different. And the one that's live on the intranet was last approved by a person who left in 2023. But the real horror isn't version chaos. It's this. You end up with a beautifully written information security policy that describes a company that no longer exists. It talks about the Office server. You've been fully cloud for 2 years. It names a role nobody holds. It references a tool you churned off last spring. Your documentation and your reality have gone on separate holidays, and they're not texting. So here's the close, and here's the dare. Open your information security policy right now, not later. Now. Read it end to end and find every sentence that is no longer true about your company. Count them. Then check when it was last approved and by whom, and whether that person still works there. If that number is 0 and the approver still has a laptop, good. You're in better shape than most. If it isn't, you don't have an information security management system. You have a very tidy museum. Go and fix the plumbing.